A video on making orange bitters. I bought some orange bitters, and they're really good, but it's really kind of quite expensive. And I just kind of thought, for them essentially something that only is orange and a bit of alcohol, I'm sure I could make my own. So if you're kind of into cocktails and you don't kind of want to splash out on a large bottle, you can make your own, I thought to myself. So, cheap vodka, it's just cheap supermarket vodka, nothing special. I had it in because I'm doing something else with it, hence why I bought the orange bitters. I'm trying to make a liqueur, which I'm faffing around with at the moment, so I bought cheap vodka. But if you don't go out and buy cheap vodka if you've already got vodka in the house. Use the vodka that you've got, because to go out and buy more vodka when you've already got something in the house seems a little bit pointless. Even if it is really good quality vodka, it's nonsensical to go out and spend more money on something that you've already got something of. So 200 milliliters of cheap vodka, and then we've got 6 small oranges. They were small, they were cheap on the market, so there's about 100 grams worth of zest. Just needs to be the outside of the zest. How can you see that? So not much white at all. You have to use an old style peeler to do it, and what you have to do is you have to just knock in with something heavy, just the blade slightly, so it cuts off less, just the zest and not the pith. You can't do it with what's called, I'll get one, what's classed as a speed peeler like that. You're just going to take off too much pith, and it's just going to be bitter in the wrong type of sense. So 200 milliliters of cheap vodka, approximately 100 grams of zest, from 6 medium oranges, and then we're going to puree that with the hand blender, and then we're going to strain it through. We'll talk about this now. We're going to strain it through a coffee paper. So a coffee paper in a funnel, and we're going to strain that through there. We're not going to let it set, because the mashing up process is going to get enough of the flavour out as possible. The first run through of the juice, because I've done things like this before, will not be particularly clear. So we are then going to pour, once it's all the liquid's gone through the funnel, through the coffee paper, we're going to put that liquid back through the same coffee paper, and the particles that are left in the coffee paper will act as a finer filter, and we'll get a really crystal clear bitters. So that's pretty straightforward. So hand blend that and just mix the crap out of it. Pureed as that's going to get. We could leave it to stand for a little bit and let the flavours mash, but I don't think that's entirely necessary. I did try and use, when I've done things like this before, I did try and use bigger bits of equipment, so like the liquidizer or the other attachment that you put on the, like the pulsed thing that pulses things up, but there wasn't just enough liquid and zest when I used a bigger piece of equipment. So ideally you need to use something smaller like this, like a hand blender. So then it's just a simple case of pouring the liquid. As you can see, it's really kind of quite yellowy, so we know that we've got lots of the flavour gone into the vodka. I'm not sure you can entirely use water. I don't think the water would absorb as much flavour as the vodka is going to do. And as we're using this for cocktails, you kind of want a little bit of alcohol anyway. You could use it as an essence if you want to put it in cakes and things, but we're making a bitters today, so that's fine. So gently pour in. I will move the camera so you can see what the first pass through of the liquid looks like. Just being a little bit careful. I don't want to spill out everywhere. It's just about as full as it wants to be at the moment. So what we'll do is let that drip through for a little while, and then we'll pour the rest of the liquid through. I'll move the camera so you can see. No, look, there's no point showing you because not much has come through yet. It takes a while. You just got to leave it to drip through slowly, which takes a while. But all good things come to those who wait, and all that. So I'll wait a little while, and I'll put the rest of that juice through there. What we can do also as well is we could actually give that juice, the pulp, a good squeeze through a cloth, and then it'll get some extra juice out of that at the moment. But we don't need to do that at the moment. We're just going to let it sit and drain through that coffee paper. You can't really use cloth in this case because you can't really get a fine enough cloth. I think coffee papers certainly work with this a lot better than a cloth. Right, as you can see, it has now passed through the filter paper, and it's collected at the bottom. There is a little bit of sediment on top. It's starting to become a little bit clearer, but another pass through the filter paper will clear all that liquid up. I'm trying to think of different ways of doing it, and as I've thought about it, what you could actually do is you could puree all the orange rind in the well, zest, not rind, the orange zest in the vodka, and then you could leave it to settle in that container, and then what would happen is all the sediment would naturally fall down to the bottom of the container that you had it in. Like if you could see it, if you had a clear one, then you get a good idea of when it was clearing up, and then you could simply pour off the top liquid, and then that would alleviate the problem of having like lots of bits and having to filter it out. So eventually it would clear over time, not perfectly clear, but it would clear up, so you wouldn't have to use a coffee paper, a filter paper. If you didn't want to buy some filter papers, if you've got them in, use them. But if you didn't, what you could do is just leave it. That's what I. Oh, bollocks! Camera's falling down. So that's what I won't edit that out. So that is what I pured it in, and I could have just left it in that container, and all the sediment would have dropped down to the bottom, and the liquid would have been left on the top, and it would have cleared up. So that's an alternative, but that's a good one. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pour that liquid back through that filter paper without cleaning the filter paper out, and the sediment that's left in the filter paper will act as a finer filter, which you kind of think, what a load of rubbish, don't believe that, but it works. So you'll see when I filtered it. So I'll stop and we'll pour it through, or shall I do it in front of the camera? No, I think the camera's going to fall over again, so I won't. I'll pause and then I'll make the camera a little bit more secure. Right, so new glass, it's just come out of the fridge. Actually, so that's why it's a little bit frosty. It's not dirty or anything like that. So same filter paper with the gunk still left in it, and then we'll just give that a swivel round so we know it's all properly mixed in, and then we'll pour that through. We won't have to do this 2 or 3 times, but it will clear up the liquid. Not too much in, because we don't want it falling over the sides of the paper. There we go. So it's starting to come through already. Is it looking any clearer? Yeah, that's looking really clear. Well, not really, really clear, but clearer. So that should be fine. We'll let that go again, and then maybe do it again, and every time it'll get clearer and clearer and clearer. So as you can see, second pass through of the filter, it's cleared up a lot more than it had, and there's not particularly much sediment in there. However, I have had a bit of a thought, and I think we've lost a little bit of volume because the vodka has been soaked into the orange zest. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly change the tactic, and probably the way that I would do it in future. I'm going to squeeze out the excess juice from the zest, and then I'm going to refilter that through a fresh bit of filter paper. I think what I would do the next time I did it is I would squeeze out as much, puree the vodka and the zest together, and then I would squeeze out as much juice as I could from the pulp, and then I'd discard the pulp, and then I would filter the squeezings and the what we call it, and the liquid, and then that would I wouldn't lose as much liquid, and I'd also gain a little bit of flavour. So slightly going around things the wrong way, but we live and learn, don't we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze out. I'm going to get a cloth. I'm going to squeeze out the zest, and then I'm going to refilter through a fresh paper, or I might just instead of wasting the paper, what I'll do is I'll scoop out the zest from the paper that's in there. I'll squeeze it out, and then I'll discard the pulp, the solid matter, and then I'll refilter through that paper, because I think that paper will have got some residue left in it, which will make it finer. So it might take another couple of filters, but I think that will look a bit better. Do it, and then it's you get an idea. So this is just a bit of old linen. See, I've wasted it now. So we'll just pour that onto the linen. I think we'll get some more juice and flavour out of that. Just carefully get rid of that. That there. Fingers are relatively clean, and then we'll just scoop this up into a purse, and then we'll give it a squeeze. We won't squeeze it over the filter. I don't want to knock it over. Put that there. Yeah, you can see there's loads of liquid coming out of that, and loads of flavour as well. I should have done that from the start. It would have certainly been a better way of doing things. But we live and learn. So that's just about as much as we're going to get out of there, without giving myself a hernia. And then we'll tip that liquid back through the filter. It'll take a while, but we'll just carry on the process, and then we'll filter again, and then filter again, and then filter again until it's clear. See, it's coming through, it's already going through, and it's quite cloudy. But what will happen is the filter will line with sediment, and then that'll refilter again. I think, hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see how we go. I might have mucked it up, but I don't think so. So that's it for the moment. As you can see, so it's started to clear up again as I put it through the filter paper. I'll move the camera so you can get a better look, so you can see inside the filter paper, so you can see what kind of sediment that's collected. So that way around, that's a bit better. So as you can see the sediment in that there, so it's done its job. I'll put it through another time, certainly another once, maybe even another twice. It's a bit of a long process. We'd cut it down if we didn't filter it the first 2 times and then squeeze out all the juice from the pulp. If we skip that process and just squeeze out the pulp from the juice, and then passed it through a filter paper a couple of times, it would have been a bit quicker process. But we're not in any rush. But there we go. That's it. There we go. So more filtering and faffing around, and time has passed. But as you can see now, crystal clear. I've tasted a little bit, and it's not something that you would drink. However, it tastes just like a regular bitters that you would use in cocktails. So I'm going to put that as a success. I'll have to think back what kind of recipe it was. What was it? 200 milliliters of vodka and 100 grams of just the zest from the outside of the oranges. I think that's a success, and I'm going to use that in the next. I'm going to make some pomegranate liqueur, and I'm going to use that as just because pomegranate works particularly well with orange, so I think that'll make a nice liqueur. So I think that's a success. So for the price of the zest of the oranges, which you don't particularly use for anything else and more often than not end up on a compost or in the bin, so for the cost of some cheap vodka, I think that's a particularly good way of making your own bitters. Certainly if you don't want to buy, if you just want to have a play around with bitters as an ingredient in cocktails and you don't want to pay for a whole big thing that size of bitters, making your own is certainly a suitable alternative, and also goes in with the ethos of less waste and all that kind of thing. So I'll put that in a little bottle, and then I'll use that as the orange bitters when I have bloody fun. When I have cocktails and things. I won't edit that bit out because I can't be bothered. So that's it. Orange bitters. You could do the same. You could make grapefruit bitters. You could make lemon bitters. You could make lime bitters, all just using zest and vodka from the zest from citrus fruits. So there we go. I think that's a success. I might have a play around sometime in the future with spicy bitters, but that'll be a similar type of process. But that's it for now.